put like the suspension maybe in the middle of the wheel?
Yeah, I was planning on doing that too. So that is kind of the next thing eventually, like the suspension for it, because now if you would have also a cylinder shape is very strong too. So if you'd be able to directly mount like your suspension mounting points to that point, to the cylinder itself, so you don't need like anything in the middle, and you could basically keep it hollow. Also the steering rack, you would be able to put it directly onto the wheel itself because it is stationary and it is also in that cylinder shape. So you could do a lot to it.
Could you also add like the how do you call it, 360 steering, like the wheels that also have like the what can I compare it to? You know what I mean, right?
That you can like basically turn them like fully 90 degrees, or
no, that like on the wheels they have like these moving surfaces that also can move left and right. So a car could go forward, and just without turning the wheels even, it could go to the side a little bit.
I think that it has like a pattern on the tire itself that you can rotate, or don't.
There's a BMW concept that has that.
You're talking about the next 100 or something?
Like the salmon colored. Yeah, I'm not sure if this really is what I'm looking for.
But this is with the flexible wheels that it could mount.
This is with the flexible wheels, like, but this is that the surface is flexible and the wheel actually still turns. But now you have wheels that just don't even need to turn. They have like they can also move like this, so they can move like this, but also move from left to right.
Kind of rotate on towards the tire itself, so something.
It's real easy for parking and those type of things.
I think just the amount of rolling resistance that you would see on a wheel like that would be kind of crazy, or if you're just going in a straight line.
I'm not sure. I just saw it a couple weeks ago and I was like, damn.
But this is kind of like a similar thing to it too, because you'll be able to do stuff like this and to keep it like. And also with the Rolls Royce here, there's a lot of like weird negative space that air can flow through and stuff like that. I think that is also something to look at, like aerodynamically, what is it gonna look like if you don't longer need an air intake, if you don't longer need like the amount of storage space and stuff like that, you know? So that is also something to take into consideration for it too. But at least for the powertrain and the way to propel the car, we kind of said like it's gonna be helpless electric motors within the wheel. So that is kind of a chapter we can close off now. The next thing that we're getting into was the suspension. I think with the suspension, like I said, you don't need like an upright, or you don't need braking, or you don't need any of those, because the electric motor will probably take a lot of those functions out of it, and you can kind of minimize the car and take a lot of the components out of it. But for the suspension itself, like I don't even think you're gonna need a spring and a damper unit on it.
Okay.
I think if you would, you know the BAC mono, right? It has like let's pull it up. BAC mono. It has the pushrod suspension, but you can see the way it works on the front of the car a little bit. I think, I don't know if I should open it. No, not safe. Yeah, here you can kind of see like this suspension unit. So there's basically a push rod that's being attached to the wheel right here that is pushing this suspension unit up, but it has like a triangular shaped thing that is kind of putting the motion of the wheel back into the motion of the spring. So it's a little bit of a rough explanation. Maybe I should just do a push rod suspension and show you. Oh, that's for a fence door. But here you can see like there is this is like a pivot point, and then here this push rod is actually pushing this pivot point towards the spring. But what this does is it takes all of this mass also out of the unsprung mass of the car. So instead of having the spring that's also moving up and down, you can kind of take it out and take a lot of the mass away, put it more towards the center of the car, and it has like better damping. And you can also accelerate that effect if you lengthen the arm of if you lengthen this distance compared to this one. So then you can kind of accelerate it. If this would be twice as long, then 1 centimeter of the wheel going up or down could result in 2 centimeters
of damping.
So that would result in better like control over it, and could put more force into it, all of that. But let's say you would attach this point right here. Instead of putting it towards the spring, you would attach it to another electric motor, and then you would be able to have like a sensor in front of the car that is kind of reading the road as you're driving along, and it kind of sees where different dents are and different bumps that kind of upset the car.
Yeah.
And then with an electric motor attached to this point, you kind of lower and higher the wheel as the car sees fit to kind of keep the car level in all different conditions. Like if you turn the car and the car starts to pitch towards the right or something, then the electric motor will kind of be able to push those outside wheels and keep it flat. So then you would be able to get rid of anti-roll bars, to get rid of like this whole suspension unit, because a spring like that is solid steel most of the time. So a spring and damper unit, if you've ever held it, like it's heavy. So and it's also most of the time on top of the car in a higher position, where like because the wheels kind of moving up and down. So it's not something that is already massed down low in the car. So that is something that can be fully eliminated if you just put one electric motor on that axle right there that can independently of all corners kind of depend how far off the road it is, of what the right height should be. If there's a bump coming up, there will be like multiple sensors that are kind of making a 3D scan of the road ahead. So you would also need supercomputers in the car. So that is something also to think about for the interior. But that's just the type of things that are going to change, because Audi has already kind of done something like this to have an electric motor as a suspension unit. Electric motor. I think you'll find it like that. Yeah, so it's basically like an electric motor attached to a sway bar, like an arm that is controlling that wheel, how it's attached and everything, and then it's allowing it to go up and down depending on everything. But you could also even have it so you can do it actively, that it's looking at the road ahead and it is anticipating when a bump is coming up and then changing it to it, but also like passively where it feels that there are extra stresses being put on the outside, because 100 times you can have control over these electric motors like damn near 100 times a second. That as soon as it feels like something is happening to it, then it can adjust to it.
Just adjust it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like computer algorithms that you would need to be put into place to kind of make it work, but it is possible. So that's some crazy technology that you can use to have like electric motors for that. So that is something that I would do to the suspension. The body of the car, if you would have 3D printed panels, or would you be able to even store electricity in them at that point?
In the panel, the body.
Which you need a body, which you need a battery pack, I should say.
How would you?
People are doing crazy stuff with graphene these days that you get like because it's carbon that is in like hexagonal structures and everything, and it's a super electric conductor, but it's also one of the strongest substances known to man. Like it's basically a diamond, but then on like a thinner level, but it works a little bit different. It's not like hard and under pressure like a diamond would be, but it is it's like a hexagonal shaped structure that you can conduct electricity to, but you can also store electricity in it, and which you then be able to
store electricity
in your body panel.
It could.
But is that like a design principle that you want to go off of? Because you kind of still need some type of electricity storage, I think. But I don't know.
I still think there needs to be some type of battery or place you can store some of the energy that's necessary to propel the car.
But if we already kind of look at the progression of a Tesla that they have with their battery packs, I think they started off with like a P70D, so they had like a 70 kilowatt hour battery pack in the beginning with the Model S, and now it's already at like 100 or something, and they're already, for the Roadster, they're already announcing that for 2021, I think, that is going to be a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack.
Okay.
And that would be more than double what they were capable of like 5 years ago. But so that is the rate of progression, and it's in the same space, so, and it's no heavier, I think, too. So how much lighter and downsized can we get to if we look into 20 years to the future? So would you be able to basically stored all of the electricity you would need in the size of a car battery right now.
I don't think, I think you could possibly do that, but I also think that maybe the battery pack doesn't need to have a certain shape anymore, so you could just maybe
mold it into
the
but
body.
that's already happening. If you look at these the Remax and everything that I showed you, but I think that was when we got the video already. Yeah, this car, it has the battery pack is like in a T shape between the two seats. So it's already like, but they use it as a structural component too. That it's kind of because it's like a carbon fiber cell, so it's already like a structurally rigid component that they can attach like the carbon fiber monocoque to, so it actually helps to stiffens the whole car to make it actually stronger.
Maybe that's a nice design principle for this car. Like everything that you add to this car needs to have more than one purpose.
Oh yeah, but that is kind of already happening right now as we're speaking. Like,
but I just realized like how they added this for structural support, like in this way.
Yeah.
Those type of things are very nice to integrate.
This is the battery pack. So then you would have one of your seat, the driver's seat here, the passenger seat here, and then it is kind of serving as a structural component that is helping the car. So that is, but these are like this is a good company to kind of keep a watch on for 2040 project, because they're already doing stuff that shouldn't be possible for 2020 right now. These are this right here is like a camera on the door that is a sensor to kind of see facial recognition, and if you're walking up to the car, it will open up automatically, stuff like that. And they have like driver coaches that the car can drive itself, but if you have like a certain tracker loaded up, that they can like on a PlayStation, that they can have the car kind of drive itself, but it make you feel like you're doing some of the stuff, and then you can turn that automatic driver off and off, so you've kind of become more in control of the car as you're getting better to also recognize the track, but also being a better driver and stuff like that. So that is some crazy stuff that's coming up too. But also with all the simulations and stuff that I was talking about, safety, crash structures. If you have right now, like cars are being designed to kind of have a crumple zone, right? That is kind of absorbing the energy of an impact. With this computer optimization software that we've been talking about for the electric motor, the similar processes are being used for that purpose. That you can kind of take a car into a simulation tool that you would run it into a pole, but then you kind of optimize those components to be best at taking impact, so that it is reducing the amount of g-forces when you're hitting it, trying to make it like a slow absorption instead of having it like being a hard hit. So that is even something that is happening. So you would be able to even minimize the car further, because within the material that is being used to make body panels, you can optimize how much g-force they can take out of a hit, and make the car a safer place to be in when something is crashing. How many crashes are you going to have? Because are the sensors and everything going to be so good that
the crash are just not happening anymore?
That is just always kind of being like a Jesus take the wheel moment, where the car is kind of handling a lot of that stuff for itself. Is it going to be communicating with other cars on the road that they can kind of tell each other like, yo, I'm here, pay attention, you see what I'm saying? So then
I don't think really the car-on-car crashes are going to be that common, but more like human car, like the car driving against pedestrians.
But even that, they have like, if you've seen the videos that Rimac has been posting about how their autonomy system works and everything, they can, with all of these cameras and sensors that they have, they can detect people from ways ahead. And also like kids running and see different dangers and analyze situations that way. Like their computers are already running at those levels that their autonomy is becoming very possible.
So I don't really think the crumble zone and those type of things are that necessary, but there still needs to be some type of safety measure.
But also autonomy itself, like how long do you think that is gonna take for full autonomous driving?